Good evening, everybody, and I want to welcome you to Hartman Baldwin's latest webinar, Maximizing Your Sanctuary. And I hope you've all had a nice day. It's pretty much a scorcher out there, so I hope you've had a chance to settle in, maybe grab a nice cool beverage, comfortable seat, and spend the next 45 minutes to an hour with us talking about this idea of maximizing and creating sanctuary within our homes. And it's interesting is this is something that we've been thinking about a lot at Hartman Baldwin, and obviously it's kind of risen to the top quite a bit. But the idea being that, our homes give us a lot of function. We have kitchens and bathrooms and bedrooms, but sometimes, and a lot of the time, we just need a place to just be, whether that's by ourselves or with family members and friends, but those spaces that are just special to us, comfortable to us, and unique to our needs. These are the things that really make a home or a property, that they suit our needs and can be very specific to us and who we are. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit about today. Before we get too much further, I just want to spend a couple minutes introducing myself and a couple of the other people. My name's Bill Judson, and I've been with Hartman Baldwin for a little over 15 years. I'm an architect with the firm. And you'll see at the last sentence there in my little bio is that I was born and raised at the Judson Studios, a stained glass studio here in Los Angeles. And I like to touch on that because stained glass is such a good metaphor to me on the combination of art and architecture. And those are things that we hold dear at Hartman Baldwin as well, is that architecture is not just function, kitchens, bathrooms, a roof over our head, a place to sleep, but it can also be beautiful and artistic and give us that sense of peace and protection, okay? Also joining me today are a few other colleagues at Hartman Baldwin. Jesse's with us, Carla as well. Carla will be chiming in a little bit later with on some of the things that we're going to be looking at. Can you say hi to us, Carla?
Yeah, how you doing, Bill? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Carla, good. We'll look forward to hearing more from you.
Sure.
And then we have, thanks. And then we have Christina and Danielle. So they're all here to help with the production of our webinar tonight. So I want to thank them for putting this all together very nicely. And then if we have any problems, they're there to back us up. And then also, if you have any questions, they'll be there to answer questions. So, in the past 4 or 5 months, all of us have become, well, I should say most of us have become very acquainted with Zoom. But if you have a question, go ahead and touch the Q&A button, drop your question in there. If it's specific, one of us will take it up during the webinar. But if it's a more general question, we may wait till the end when we have saved a little bit of time for some Q&A there to answer those questions. Okay, and who's Hartman Baldwin? So Hartman Baldwin, we were started 35 years ago by Devin Hartman and Bill Baldwin. And right from the get-go, they started this business with the idea of combining the design build. So what that means to us is we have a full-time staff of architects, interior designers, estimators, drafters, and we're also general contractors. So we're able to take a project all the way from our first initial meeting, all the way through to moving you back in your home. And you are allowed a single point of accountability through all of that. So no one's blaming anybody else on anything else. We've spent a lot of time analyzing this business model and improving it over the years so that someone like yourself can stay in control of getting what you want and how much you want to spend. I'm not going to talk a lot about how we do that in this webinar, but if you're interested, go to our YouTube channel and look at our Home Remodeler Survival Guide series, and we dive into depth into how we keep you in control of your scope and your budget in those. But what I want to talk about today more is this idea of sanctuary and creating a spaces within our homes that give us that, And as I was thinking about this webinar tonight, I was trying to convey, how could I convey in a couple of sentences what I'm trying to get across to you? And a funny thought occurred to me. Oftentimes when I'm working with people and we're trying to get on the same page about the ideas and the design ideas, people will hand me their phone and say, "Hey, we were on vacation last week," or, well, we wouldn't have been on vacation last week, last year anyway. And they show me this picture. Look at how cool this resort is. This is what I want, you know? And so in a lot of ways, maybe that's the way we can start framing this idea of sanctuary is, especially now with COVID, if we can't go to the resort, well, let's bring the resort to us. Let's create the spaces that make us feel good, that make us relax, help us get that feeling that we get in the resort, and that's sort of different, specific to our needs. So that's what we're going to be. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to go through some examples, some projects that we worked on and on creating sanctuaries for people, creating those special spaces, whether those are little areas we find within the home. We may need to be doing additions to your space, or it may be new structures. If you look at, for example, the one on the left where, where most of us, I'm working from home and my office is virtually my dining table. And so, at the end of the day, I pick up all of those things and put them away so that we can sit down and enjoy a meal together. Maybe we need to add space. Your kitchen is maybe a great kitchen, but you know what? We just don't have anywhere to be together while we're preparing this meal. So maybe we need to add a little space, or maybe, some people in the family like to spend the evening in a very quiet space, reading or writing, or in my case, I like to draw. Whereas others are wanting to stream the latest Avengers movie up to 10, So we need to create some compatibility, or it could be new structures. I mentioned I'm finding that with my time in COVID, I'm getting back to drawing, and I'm just thinking how great it would be if I had a space or a studio that I could go to and just put my things out and be creative and not have to gather up all those things, put them all away so that they're not taking up that room on the dining room table. So that's how we're going to kind of structure this as we're going through this. And then we'll talk a little bit about, many of you may be aware of the law that passed in 2017, the state law talking about ADUs, accessory dwelling units. So we'll touch on how we may be able to use that new law to get more of what you want, because that we can use that to our advantage. Our homes give us a lot, but they don't give us maybe everything we want. So let's jump in a little bit. We'll start a little small and then we'll build up. Offices, I was just talking to a gentleman today. We were commiserating, like I said, of the idea of, it's kind of advantageous to work from home. I get to work in my shorts and flip-flops sometimes, get that comfortable. But like I say, I can't leave everything out. I need to gather it all up. The gentleman I was talking to this afternoon, he said, I just don't have a scanner at home. In my case, my printer keeps crapping out and I can't get my IT guy coming on right away. So it may be that we just need to create a space for an office that we can go and work, and at the end of the day, close up and leave all of that behind us, And I think that's really coming into play nowadays. It could be, go ahead, Carla.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was going to mention, I'm right there with you. One of the fun things about these projects, especially when we're adding an office, is, and I think we all can relate, it's having these, video conference calls and being worried about what's in the background too. That's kind of challenging. That example of having to move everything off the dining room or moving it to a different room is really, can be really challenging. This particular office, this reminds me, in this photo you can't see it, but right to the right of that desk is a full bathroom. And that bathroom then opens up to a really nice pool area. And it just, again, another space where you can work, be able to take a break, go out, enjoy the patio and the pool and come back. At the same time, it's fully loaded with all of the AV stuff that you may need for some of these important calls.
Yeah, and the other thing that occurred to me is, you hear everybody talking about the new normal, whatever that's going to be. But I think we're all kind of feeling like, hey, maybe there is something to be said about having a space at work, at home, that I could work from home when I want to, or when I need to. So this is something that's going to stick with us.
Hmm.
That's one thought. And then master suites. That's another area that, excuse me, that we really start to find this idea of sanctuary. Now, master suite, of course, could be bedroom, bathroom, closet, or it could be something like the project you see in front of me and in front of you. And this is one of those where, I reckon back to the, people showing me the pictures on their phone of, hey, we went to this beautiful resort. It was so relaxing, so spa-like. This is what we would like to create in our own home. So you see up in the upper left there, that idea of sort of a Zen bathroom, where rather than having a room within a room for a shower, instead we have a shower just open into the whole space. And then you can see on the right with the water feature pouring down into a sunken tub with a little bit of a bench there that provides a barrier of privacy as well. That you could imagine just sitting in there with, in a nice bath, lighting a candle. And then a really cool feature is that window on the left of the tub. What's that kind of glass called again, Carla? Do you remember?
It's called a smart window. And if you were to look, all of the windows here, with the exception of the one on the top left photo, but all of the windows look out to a beautiful lap pool and deck. And so that's a really fun feature. The window behind that vanity is also a smart window. So with a touch of a button, you frost up your window and you have instant privacy. And when you are feeling like you want to just relax, soak in your tub and look out at the beautiful backyard, they can. It's a really fun and really nice feature to have. Not to mention the nice skylights too. Just getting as much natural light in a space makes a world of difference.
Yeah, that's right. Nice natural light, and really get the feeling of more volume in that space. And yeah, that glass is cool. Boy, talk about a great solution if you don't want to have any drapes or curtains, just at a flick of a button, creating some privacy. Very, very cool.
And another kind of fun feature about this bathroom too is his and her water closets. So for example, in that top left photo, you see that really kind of nice door there with the glass paneling. That's one water closet. And then behind that water feature, that's the other water closet. So again, everyone has their own preferences, but having your own water closet, talk about
sanctuary.
That's right. So true. Yeah.
Yeah. And if we kind of stay on this idea of master suites, one thing that we're finding more and more people desiring is dressing rooms. So now our closets aren't becoming just places to hang our clothes, but they can actually be sanctuaries. Different people are different, but I'm one of these people. I like to wind up slowly in the morning. I like to get up and enough time to sit down, kind of gather my thoughts, maybe read the paper, have a cup of coffee. And then, I could imagine having this beautiful dressing room, being able to go in there and not, kind of winding up my day, being a little private, quiet time, being able to see all the clothes that I have, preparing for my wardrobe for that day. These are some areas too, small spaces, but can be very important to, start your day or end your day the way that you want to.
Oh man, I could not agree with you more. One of the things that I find most exciting about, frankly, these suites, when people start really kind of thinking through about what they want in these suites, these dressing rooms really kind of are a special highlight of the space. I know I've got to negotiate space in the closet with my spouse, and and it's just a little different. It's nice to have things where you can see everything clearly where it's supposed to go. Also, something that's just kind of fun is the mood lighting. You would never think that you'd need to have dimmers in a closet. But when you have a closet like this, it makes such a world of difference. I'm sure when you're waking up, you talk about starting slow, right? Being able to come into a nice, well-lit room, being able to see everything that you're grabbing for the day. You know, that photo on the very right is one of my favorite dressing rooms that we've done. That whole cabinet is a shoe cabinet, and that middle island holds all of kind of her delicates and all of that in that center island. It also has a little pull-out table, so she could set out all of her outfit for the day and get prepared for the day. That vanity too has a very beautiful backlit mirror to really help as she, gets ready for the day. Just really stunning, really fun spaces.
Yeah, talk about sanctuary again.
Mm-hmm.
And we may find, so these are a few examples of finding some sanctuary within your home. We can also look outside, even though it's a scorcher day here in Southern California, once the sun goes down, it's just beautiful on a summer evening. And most of the year, we can be outside and have wonderful, wonderful evenings together and daytimes together. And so, like in the project that you see up there in the upper left, for them, they had this beautiful home, but the backyard just was dirty and unwelcoming. And in fact, to get into the backyard, they had to go through a little door that was kind of right where they wanted to keep their couch. And they just wouldn't do it, it was too much of a pain. And so we talked to them about what they were after, and you can see what we ended up doing is creating such a great space. I'm going to get my pen out here. And now we have this big glass wall with these big sliders so they can open up that whole wall, step outside onto that beautiful patio. And then we created a wonderful, tranquil koi pond with a waterfall. So they love to take their evenings. They'll grab a glass of wine, go out, listen to the waterfall. It's kind of fun. When I've been there a couple times, they walk up to the edge of the pond, and the koi are almost like dogs. They kind of come up to us. I know they're just looking for food, but I like to pretend they're coming up and saying hi. And, every time I've been in that space, it's like coming into, again, that resort, where you come off the street and walk through their home and walk into their backyard. And I can just feel the peacefulness sort of wash over me, and the stress just start to leave. And it's just the little things, those spaces that are easy to get in and out of, that have places to sit and to be, that have sounds, in this case, of falling water, just creating all of that tranquility.
And you can't see it in this photo, but after we did this this big project here, that kind of inspired him too to keep continuing on with his bonsai garden. I don't know if you remember that. He took this idea of Zen and just ran with it, which was so exciting to see. And now I just recently went over there, and it was just so impressive to see all of the other things that he's done to it. He spent a lot of time out there, which is really fun.
I have seen that. Beautiful bonsais. Or it could be, if we look at the project down in the lower left, where this was a hillside home, and they had a nice kitchen, but they weren't really able to go outside and enjoy it because of the hillside and the trickiness of creating a deck. But we were able to figure that out for them. And not only did we remodel their kitchen, but you can see the nice open doors there flow out onto this beautiful deck. So now not only are they able to have a great time while they're preparing a meal, but then come outside and sit and enjoy the view and enjoy these beautiful evenings that we have. So I'm an outdoor person. I love that. And then on the right, a potting bench. If you're a gardener, what more kind of nice escape is that than to be able to, much like an office, this is sort of your outdoor office where you can do your potting and leave your messes if you want, or clean it up.
That's right. I think that's the one thing that I like the most about these things. Right around the corner from this really pretty potting area is a nice pool, and it would be really nice to just be able to go and do your gardening, leave that there, go enjoy the pool, and then come back to it, not have to worry about having to clean all that up. Just a really fun little space there.
Or, we may have the opportunity to, let's talk about go a little bit bigger, additions to the home. That may be a good solution for you. In this case, this family was that one I maybe, hinted at a little bit earlier, where she liked to spend her evenings in a quiet space. You know, we created a living room for them with a nice gas fireplace with a chair that she could sit and read. But he was a movie fanatic, a Star Trek, Star Wars, Avengers, and he loved to watch all those movies cranked up to 10. Excuse me. And that's not, those two things aren't compatible. So what we did is create him a space that, hey, we could do this. We can have a nice big TV in there, make it very comfy and cozy. And it was at the other end of the house, and we gave some sound insulation around the complete room so that they can really crank up the sound and have a great time there. And then if you look here, you can see these doors right here, okay? These doors are right here, all right? So now we're starting to get the combination of just not an addition, but that indoor-outdoor space where maybe it's an afternoon spent together and we can open up those doors to the pool and flow right in and out of this fun ruckus space out onto the pool. Mm-hmm. And again, create that resort. And then they said, oh, by the way, you know, his in-laws, her parents, come into town a lot, and we'd love for them to have a place to stay. Could we, you know, create that? And so what we did is installed a Murphy bed in the corner for them. So on the occasion that they have someone coming and visiting, they can drop that in and drop that bed, and they've got virtually a whole bedroom.
That's one of my favorite features. I think, and it's exciting to see more and more people put those into their guest bedrooms, because as we're experiencing now, any bedroom that's not a dedicated bedroom sometimes can do double duty. And so it's built-in Murphy beds are personally one of my favorite things, just because they provide so much additional function. Another little feature that I really love about this project is the little doggy door that was built in right next to those doors. You know, because even our pets need to figure out how to accommodate them. Yeah,
there's your doggy door right there.
Yeah, yeah, and it has like a little bowl, little built-in like spigot for its water bowl right next to it. I can't really see it in this photo, but that's one fun thing that we always do in our designs, from, you know, special cat doors or special cat cabinets that are built into things. Those are the fun features too, when we're you know, making modifications to a home that our clients always ask, what can we do for our pet? That's another family member we have to think about too.
Yeah, we may not want to spoil our kids, but we're certainly willing to spoil our pets. Right?
Definitely.
Another way, you know, this was a fun story. This was a master suite addition. Just show you this. So all of this part right here was added on to this beautiful Spanish Revival home. And when I like this project as an example, because you can see not only did we create the master's bedroom that you see in the lower left photo, you can see the bed there, and we gave them a his and hers closet, nice big bathroom with a walk-in shower, but then we gave them sort of sanctuary within their sanctuary. If you look back in here, okay, where there's a fireplace and TV. So one of the things that they wanted to do was create a master suite on the first floor, so that their existing bedrooms were all on the second floor. But as they got older, they didn't want to have to keep coming up and down the stairs. And that they wanted to be able to kind of be self-contained in there as well. So we gave them a nice, comfortable space with a TV and a fireplace. The other thing, just as a side note that this does, is their garage sits over here, and they had no way to get from the house to the garage under shelter. So this addition, we created this nice colonnade that they can get to and from the house under shelter, but yet not block the view that they had from their bedroom. And then one of my favorite things is we put a little kitchenette in there for them. She was British and loved her tea. So we put a little kitchenette that they could make tea or coffee. And then right on the other side of this door is what she called her secret garden, okay? This was a very private garden, kind of in a corner on the side yard of the house, that we screened off, built a nice wall, obviously put in that door so they can step outside into that private secret garden and create, have a cup of tea or maybe a glass of wine in the evening and really kind of just reconnect with each other, spend some time and not have a lot of the distractions of street traffic or the kids next door playing on the playground. Just creating that secret garden. I thought that was a fun way to put it when she told me that's what she called it.
Yeah, and another really cool feature about this suite is that all of the doorways are a little bit larger, just so that, again, in case they needed to be in a wheelchair, that nothing was going to prevent them from being living in that space. The shower is very big and wide, all on one level, with a very subtle slope, again, just to make it really easy for them as they aged in place. So that was another wonderful feature about that. And something to think about too, as we have maybe parents coming back to live with us, or unfortunately, like how we're experiencing now, we may have to recuperate on our own in some part of our house, and having a place like that provides you that level of comfort at whatever kind of recovery stage you're at is really, really important, I think, nowadays.
Yeah. And Carla, you mentioned Skylight on one of the previous ones. And this one, this is a great example. You can see the Skylight in their little retreat area here. And I get asked that question a lot. Skylights bring in such great light, but when you have traditional architecture, how do we do that? We don't want to see a big skylight sitting on a big tile. But if we do it right and hide it in a way that it won't be seen, we can get that skylight that gives us all of that beautiful natural light coming down in. Very, very relaxing space. Another one may be just, if our home, in this case, this is a project where we just wanted a view of the garden, a place that could serve a lot of purposes, to go and be in a nice bright room, see the garden, take in the view, but yet maybe we open it up. You notice we have French doors, 2 sets of French doors on each side of this. You call this the conservatory, where we could open that up, and get air flowing through there, entertaining, indoor, outdoor living. Very, very great, fun space. And I love the way she furnished it as well.
Yeah, she did a great job. She's a doctor, professor, and so loves to read. So if you were to look behind where the photographer is essentially standing during this one, you'd see a big wall of just shelving with her whole library, her book collection. She collects books. And one part of that bookcase is also dedicated to her grandkids' books. And she has a little area there just for her grandkids. One corner is dedicated with a little table there for them. And she was just telling me how wonderful it is. Like during spring, she just opens up those doors and they're just in and out the whole time there. She has this beautiful big yellow lab, the sweetest dog you could ever meet. And his favorite spot is right there in that corner of that couch. And it's just so, every time you walk into that space, it just feels so pleasant and calming. And then of course she had redone her whole backyard. I think that might have been the second phase of project that we had done with her. But just a really nice space, something really nice to have in a home. Yeah.
So those are some examples of how we can maybe add to your home, but we may also need to create a separate structure, or you may want a separate structure. In this case, I love this story. This was a fun project. This couple had an old shed in their backyard. You can kind of see the bones of it right here. For years, it had just sat there. They didn't really know what to do with it. They'd stored things in there. It's kind of, I think, what we would all do. But it just eventually kind of just wore down into kind of a spider-infested, scary place, So they came to us and started, hey, what could we do with this? And like a lot of cases, it's, we can come up with ideas, but we want to find the idea that's right for you. So we started spending some time with them, listening to stories, and one theme started to emerge. And that was, this couple had Japan was a very special place for them. They had spent their honeymoon there, traveling all over the country. and had really, the tea ceremony really resonated with them when they were on that trip. And they, in fact, they were trying to kind of keep the tea ceremony going in their home and everything. It wasn't quite working. And we started to talk a little bit more, and they talked about this idea of how they each love to spend, a fair amount of time each day meditating. And all of a sudden, this idea started to coalesce of, well, why don't we change that into a tea house? And so we picked up on a lot of Japanese architectural themes. You can see the lifted roof, this sort of pavilion style coming up in. We consulted with a bonsai gardener to really give it that Japanese feel. Imported rice paper for the soji screens, imported true tatami mats from Japan. And now look at what we created is this beautiful retreat for them. And the thing that I love about this is, if you've ever meditated, that path to the meditation is very important. And then you can see how we created that path so they can change their mindset as they're walking in to do the tea ceremony or to meditate in this space, a very meditative space. And then I'll also notice too, I'll point out that not only now have we created a beautiful space for them to go and to be in, but the picture in the upper left is the view from their back porch. So instead of looking at a spider-infested concrete block shed that's surrounded with overgrown weeds, now they've got this focal point, sort of this, almost like a folly in their backyard. So even while they're in their house, they have a beautiful thing that they have to look at, almost like a piece of art. And then they can also go into it, and that's a very special place, a very meaningful place for them as well. Go a little bit bigger. This is a fun project. This is a nice pool cabana. Obviously, this particular client had a large property, really wanted to maximize it. Same thing as we spent time with them. When we started with them, their backyard was literally just dirt, just a dirt backyard. And so we started to talk to them about what it is, what's your vision? What would you like to do here? And very quickly they said they wanted a pool. And they said, well, we'd also love to entertain, and he loved to watch sports and he loved to play golf. She loved to cook. She loved to entertain. She loved to swim. The kids are kids, right? They'll do it all. They'll watch some TV and run around and play. So we wanted to create this place that would be all of that for everybody, And so if you take a closer look here, you've got this great, beautiful fireplace with the chairs around it. So even on a cool evening, you could start a fire, cozy up to it, turn on the game or maybe a fun movie on the TV. Back behind here is a chipping and putting green. The thing I love about this is now, if someone wants to go practice their golf, they don't have to leave and go to the golf course or the driving range. They can be there together with their family. The other thing that I love about this is over in here, we have a full kitchen and a full bath, So now, it was interesting. I went back, probably a little over a year after this was completed. And the family said, you know what, we love this so much. We are out here pretty much every night. And, she goes, I'm so glad that we put a dishwasher and cupboards in the kitchen here, because this is my kitchen. I can cook and we can all sit out here, chip a little bit, run on the grass, jump in the pool, and talk about resort, talk about sanctuary as a family. Now we can all be together and do a lot of the things that we want to do, maybe individually, kind of, maybe we call it parallel play when we were kids. But we can all be together and do the things that we love and share. And then not only that, the friends come and the entertaining can really be just such a great place. And no one really has to leave. It's all there for them.
I love this project. It was so fun to see it come together. And this idea of these outdoor showers too. I mean, they have the full bath in there, but they also have, right outside of that, they have 2 shower heads. So that, again, you don't need to go into the full bath. You just need to rinse off. You can do that. At the very far end of the pool, there's another nice loungy fire pit area over there as well. It's just a really fun project. And I can definitely say that if I had this place, we would probably be out there all of the time as well.
Yeah, me
Hard
too.
not, it would be hard not to be out there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Another pool house we created. Now this was one that was remodeled, a little bit different, a little bit more contemporary in style.
Mhm.
Carla, maybe walk us through this one.
Okay, sure. So this was a project where, you know, we expanded on an existing pool house. It was a lot smaller. Before there used to be still a bathroom, a little outdoor kind of kitchen area, and a little kind of overhanged roof there, roof covering there. We expanded on that obviously quite a bit, redid all of the pool area, new fire pit. Now the little outdoor barbecue area is right there in between. You'll see two doors. The one door to the right of the barbecue is to that full bath. That other door to the left is that nice new full kitchen that we have in there now. We expanded upon that living or lounge area. And then if you go a little bit more towards the left, you'll see those 3 stools. And that's a nice little bar area. And right behind there, there's a large screen TV and more of a loungy kind of where you can watch the sports and have a different type of just sit down area. Another cool feature about that is that it has roll down shades, security shades. So at the end of the night, if you're all done, everything's cleaned up, you just hit a button, all the screens come down, everything gets secured. There's no risk of anybody going in and, you know, messing with the TV or any of the amenities that are in there.
Keeps it all clean and everything.
Another fun little one is they have a shuffleboard court right behind the pool house. So kind of a perfect fit for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And another story I love about this too is, you know, this particular client didn't really love having people coming through their home. I don't know, you know, but yet they were owners of a large company and members of a large family and like to entertain. So we had a little bit of a paradox there. But now we gave them a space where they have the family reunions there. And this is the space that they go. No one has to come into the house. They can all go and have this tremendous time together out in the cabana. They also would host the company parties. And again, so, you know, we can all go outside, have it out here, has everything we need, has more than we need, and still keep our house private and secure in the way that we want it, but have these tremendous opportunities to entertain. It was really, really a good fit for their needs. This is one that's an interesting story, and it's gonna lead us into the next piece of our conversation tonight. And this is actually a converted garage. You know, now that I say that, you may say, aha, I can tell it was, but probably when you first looked at it, you may not be able to tell. And the reason that I want to use this as a little bit of a segue is because the 2017 law that went into effect, remember how I said at the beginning that this is, you know, we may be able to take advantage of this? Well, this is a good example, because what that law allows you to convert your garage into a accessory dwelling unit or a guest house. So as long as we meet those conditions, we can do something like this. In this case, you know, they wanted to convert their garage. They were like, we never park in there. We always park in the garage. It's too hard to get in and out. And then look what happens. We can convert this into this great pool cabana outside. We no longer need the driveway, so we can take that out, give them that, in this case, a nice lawn space. And then the cabana itself is just loaded with all sorts of features.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, the bar itself has a really pretty tricked out. It's got a wine server, like where you can just link up your wine bottles and serve direct self-serve from there. It's got the frost rail around that bar area. You'll see that big screen TV there on the wall. It's got a 6-screen video there, so everyone can watch something. Everyone can watch what they want there. One of my favorite features of it, just because I just love saunas, is if you go into that the pool house bathroom there, has a nice dry sauna in there and a nice, really beautifully done bathroom. And then of course, now you have that whole backyard that you can hang out by the pool, sit and have your, margarita maybe by the pool, and go back to the bar and hang out and watch some sports while everybody's hanging out. It's just really fun space.
Yeah. And you can imagine what, again, I'm going to go back to this 2017 law, what this does in a situation like this. If you look at this picture that's kind of taken from the back porch of the house, what a difference is it to have a pool cabana here than it is to have a garage. It just completely changes the way that this family uses their property.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, not only would we have this garage here with the ugly, but then we also have the driveway that would be coming out, a 20-foot wide driveway. How much of their backyard does that eat up? So that's something that's really exciting that's happened in the past few years, that if we do it right, if we plan it out right and are meeting all of your city or your jurisdiction requirements, it can completely transform your backyard for those of you that have garages in your backyard. That was definitely something, more and more we see these garages in the backyard. Nowadays we're building with them attached, but they become these things that we just are immovable, but they can be changed and transformed and create these luxurious backyards, again, if it's done right. So let's go to the next slide, and I'm going to just dive in just a little bit on this ADU law. And in the context of what we're saying today, what this does for us is a few things. A big piece of this is that the state allowed you to convert your garage to a guest house without having to replace your garage. That was something that's totally new. And I just showed you an example of how that could happen. Another big change is that the state told all of the cities and counties that you can no longer disallow guest houses in any of your zones. Quick story in Claremont, where we've done a lot of work. To get a guest house, you used to have like a 1/4 acre of a lot. You had to have access from an alleyway and a street, or from 2 streets, have 2 curb cuts. I think I looked at it and it amounted to maybe 5 or 6 properties in Claremont would be allowed to guest houses. So what the state is saying is that we have a housing crunch, we have a housing problem. So we're no longer going to allow you're no longer allowed to disallow these second dwelling units, guest houses, on your property, and based on the zone. Now there are a few exceptions if you're in a hillside district or a historic district, but overall you're allowed to do that. Okay. Now we need to do this carefully, because the other thing that it will let us do is it's softer on our setback requirements. So we can actually put your guest house closer to the property line than you're allowed to put your main house. Okay. The next slide is going to show an example of how we took advantage of that. This was a guest house that we built not too long ago. Just to be clear, here you have the main house. Okay. This is the guest house. All right. And then I want to point out they have a pool back in here. That's an important thing, because we're going to talk about that. This was a couple that came to us, and they both of their parents lived on the East Coast, but they came to visit regularly. And they said, we don't want to have to go and stay in a hotel if we want to come and stay for a month or 2. And yet we don't want to, cramp your style. We want our own space. So we created this guest house. And they came to us and they said, boy, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do this, because we've got some concerns. These 2 windows right here are their kitchen windows. Okay. And they wanted to maintain a view to the pool, right? Because even though they would, usually be out there to watch the kids in the pool and everything, they still wanted to maintain direct contact, visual contact to the pool. Okay. So what we did is we pushed that guest house as far as we could against that property line. Now look what happened. Not only were we able to get that visual, but their kids are young age too. And we gave them all of this open space here that they can play catch, you know, run around, do all the things that little kids do. And then, you know, since the in-laws weren't there all of the time, we didn't want to just, you know, basically kind of board this up, but how could we get a dual purpose? So luckily in this case, since we had a 2-story home, we were able to get a 2-story guest house. And so when you look at that bottom left picture, that's what the guest house looks when you walk in the first floor. Nice little seating area, place to watch TV. We've got a kitchenette, a little eating nook. If we turn around from where the photographer is, we've got a bathroom. And all of the more private areas are upstairs. So you go upstairs, that's where we have the bedroom, a nice big closet, nice sized bathroom. Because then what happens is if no one's upstairs, or even if someone is, I suppose, that becomes a pool house. So now we're out in the pool, you know, hey, someone needs to use the restroom and we don't like people peeing in our pools. We can go right in through that door. There's the bathroom. Or someone needs to take a break and warm up a little bit after they're swimming. They can come into that first floor, sit down, you know, watch a little TV, maybe grab a soda or a snack or something like that. So it's not just a dedicated guest house, but really multi-purpose and gives them, you know, the sense and everything that they want to raise their family. And then you can also see we needed to match it up stylistically to the house. So not only is the paint color obviously the same, but you have these little bites out of the first floor that were copied from the house up here, okay? That also allowed for more, you have more visual contact in through there. Also lightened it up, right? Because we were afraid of having a big 2-story structure kind of towering over the backyard. But by sort of carving out these corners, it helps lift it up, feel a little bit lighter and not so intensely monolithic in their backyard. Now, once we start to talk about guest houses and how they go on their lot and everything, like I illustrated in the last project, sometimes we need to take a bigger picture and start to master plan an estate, you know, where we look at, instead of a guest house, we want to look at the whole property, because we're going to be given opportunities like that play yard and like the visual contact into the pool. The project you're looking at here, this was a good example of that. This is a green and green home. So here we have a historic home. And since it's historic, we didn't really want to add on to it. We also had before we started, we had a garage that didn't serve the purposes. It was from way back in the day, more of a carriage house. So we needed a garage. We needed more space. They needed more space, but we didn't really want to add on to this historic home. This was a home that was designed by the Green and Green, famous architects of the Gamble House and the Blacker House. So let's pop up the site plan and I'll show you what we did here. So if you could imagine, out here's the street. This is the house that we were just looking at. And one of the downsides of this property is this was the rear property line. Okay, so that photo we were just looking at was sort of taken from this angle, right? So virtually no backyard. What does that mean? What do we do in our backyard? Those things that we like to do in private, right? Go sit in the spa, just sit and maybe have dinner. So we needed to create some spaces that would give them that, but we couldn't, you know, buy the property next door and tear down their house. So what we did is we looked and we saw we have a couple opportunities. I'll just mention here, this street, this is another street. So this is actually a corner, okay? So what we did is we said our best opportunity for that private space is back in here. And we can create that space by giving them this garage here, which gives us a little bit of privacy, okay? Then what we did is, rather than add on to the house, we then remember how I said we can kind of put these structures up against our setback? So we put a studio back in here. Now with a fence and a pergola and a gate, we created this tremendous private space, and not just a studio, but now we have this great patio, this sort of space between the buildings. Now we're able to get a spa back here now that we've got privacy, and we have an outdoor fireplace, and we have a little secret patio. But now with careful planning and understanding the needs, we've got this whole private backyard, okay? Side yard actually to them. And then to create some privacy from this street, what we did was do some plantings in here, and then not that there was a lot of noise, but beautiful pond over in here. Actually, it's more of a creek that runs into this pond, and there's a beautiful view of it from here. So we've got not a nice sanctuary over here with that pond, and then a nice sanctuary over here that we can eat, sit in the spa, spend time together, go out into the studio, and a small, relatively small space. We got a lot of function in there for them. So let's look at what the end result was like. Here we're looking at the studio, okay? You saw the house, it was a green and green home, so we definitely had some style that we wanted to keep. These stairs that you see in the lower left, those are the stairs coming out of the house. And here you can see where now we've got this great outdoor dining area. You can see the edge of the spa here. You can see back in here that secret patio with that fireplace. I've been to a couple parties there, and it's such a great place too, because now we have a series of spaces as well. You can light a fire, sit back in here with a group, jump in the spa, open up the doors to the studio, go in and watch some TV, listen to some music, grab a drink, you know, or sit out here with a group of people and enjoy a meal together. So this again, you know, obviously a craftsman home, and the owner wanted to keep that craftsman attitude, craftsman style. So here you can see just creating a nice, I'll say masculine, but this was his space. We gave her a room in the home for her piano and for her drawing and writing. And this was his space to watch the football games up loud and listen to those, or maybe have a couple of beers with his friends. And then when you turn around, you can step into the garage. You gave a workshop in there and a bathroom in there. So it created the whole estate on this piece of property that they were concerned over whether they should even purchase, because they didn't know if they were going to be able to get everything they want. They ended up getting everything they wanted and more.
It's one of my favorites.
Sure.
One of my favorites for sure. You know, that room across from the pond, that's where her, like you mentioned, her piano is there. Her little reading room is right. It opens up right into that pond area. That's where she writes letters to all of her family. It's very sweet. It's just nice to see that they can both have their individual spaces, and that they can still have that kind of enjoy the home, but still have their own little private spaces, and not, you know, not intermingle as much when they want that kind of separation. Yeah.
Now let's look at our next project, where in this case, this was a home that we restored, and they had a pool that wasn't really functioning the way that they wanted it to. Little kids, you know, so we need to keep that pool safe, you know. So when we laid it out, this is the kids' playroom. So we have nice access right from the kids' playroom out into the bedroom. I mean, out into the pool. This is the master suite with this beautiful view right down into the pool and across the pool. And then maybe if we can go to the next slide, go a little closer. So, you know, when you have little children or a family, or they have friends or grandkids, we want to make sure everybody's safe. But we don't, you know, by code, we have to kind of write a circle around the pool with a fence. But then in this case, let's put the party inside the fence, you know. So what we did here was create this nice pool cabana with an outdoor kitchen, nice seating area, so that everybody can be together, and we don't have to worry about someone wandering off outside or falling into the pool without being seen. You know, creating that safe space so that we can enjoy ourselves and be together as a family, cook a meal, sit outside and eat together. Okay, now We also have a experience, and maybe you're in this category as well, where this particular project, we had this beautiful 2.5 acre lot. And the clients had this beautiful 1920s stone Tudor style home that they wanted to really maximize not just the house, but help them understand what they could do on the entire lot. I won't go into too much detail, but there was a shop and a garage and a restoration to the home and attaching the home to the garage. But I want to focus on what they call their gardener's cottage, and keep a memory of what the original house looks like, because in the next slide, you're going to see the gardener's cottage. So obviously we had a very strong architectural style to draw from. So when we built this gardener's cottage guest house, if you remember where the front facade of the main house is, if we go all the way to the left, this house is set back from the original house and tucked back in the corner. And then you have this hedge. Great way to create privacy. Okay. So this house is still on the same lot, but creating a lot of privacy from the main house. And then talk about secret garden. This was just a beautiful, and obviously the owner was a huge gardener. That's the gardener's cottage and this beautiful garden. And then on the left side of the photograph, you can see the greenhouse, where, again, if your idea of sanctuary is going and potting some plants or unpotting some plants and putting them in the ground and creating a nursery, and then seeing all these beautiful plants come into fruition. And the point being that there was an opportunity here to create these series of spaces all across their whole estate. In the back, we had a pool and a pool deck and a pool room and a garage. And like I mentioned, then we have this guest house. Let's go inside, because this is no ordinary guest house. Here you can see this is a full-on, house. To the right, we can see the kitchen, this beautiful stone fireplace. Go upstairs and we have a full suite with a nice big bedroom, bathroom, and then this series of private spaces. So remember, I showed you the the greenhouse. Here you can see that greenhouse here. And so you can walk, like I talked about, through the secret garden into this garden. See another view of it here. And it's almost as if, if I kind of go back to the idea of the resort, that this is your cabana and this is my cabana, this is your space, but we can still come together in those times that we need to.
Yeah, this is a really fun project. One that, I think it's still by far one of the best examples of guest houses that we've done. That master suite upstairs is pretty large. It's got a nice walk-in closet. It's got that nice full walk-in shower, separate water closet. You name it, it's got it. Right to the right of that little sort of island there that you see, you'll see a little bit of a range, but the full kitchen is there. Honestly, it's one of those places where, talk about a long-term stay. You could definitely be there for quite a bit of time if you'd like to, and just get away from it all, for sure.
All right, so how do we do this? I'm gonna just spend the next couple of minutes talking about our process. Again, like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. If you'd like to know more, certainly you could call us. We're happy to talk about it, or jump on YouTube, go to our YouTube page, Hartman Baldwin, see some of those. But basically, we break it up into three main parts: the conceptual design development, and then the construction. And the whole idea is, let's use common sense. Let's put the horse before the cart. So what do we need to do? The first part we want to do is get into conceptual design, and all we want to do in this part is just figure out what you want to do and how much that's going to cost, right? So our approach is to put you in a position where we can provide you the information that you need to decide, yeah, this plan, this master plan, or this remodel plan, this is what I want, this is what works for me. And then we'll also provide you with preliminary estimates, because you may find that once you're seeing what you want, it may or may not be what you want to spend, because what people want to do and what they want to spend are always two different things. But we want to find that out in the beginning during the conceptual design, because once we have those figured out, once we have your project and your budget in alignment, then we can jump into the second part. Now we can start figuring out all of the details, getting engineering done where we want, picking out all the materials so that we end up with a good set of working drawings that you understand exactly what's coming out and what's coming back in its place, and that we can go and we can get permitted at your jurisdiction, that we can use that set of plans to build to. And what we do is we'll take those plans, and before we start construction, we'll give you a final estimate that will be guaranteed, okay? So the idea is in the conceptual design, we want to figure out the big picture, right? And then in the design development, we want to figure out all the details so that when we start construction, you know exactly what the project is, you know exactly what it's going to cost, and now we're just out there executing. And as you can tell by the photo, it can actually be kind of fun if we've got it all figured out, right? If we've got the plan, right? And now we're just going to do the work, right? Plan the work, work the plan. And that's where we can actually have a good experience for both of us during construction. So that's hopefully a good sort of appetizer to get you to thinking about sanctuary and what some of your needs may be in your home. And hopefully that was helpful and giving you hope that, hey, you can get what you want and it doesn't have to be a nightmare, especially if you plan it out carefully. A couple upcoming events. I mentioned our Home Remodeler Survival Guide web series. We're going to be rebroadcasting one of those episodes on August 12th. So put that on your calendar. Make sure we have your email so we can, you'll get that announcement or a reminder, I should say. And then on August 27th, if you see that home in the picture here on the right, we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into this project and how we used our process and the execution and the construction to get that beautiful home that you see there on the right. And then I also like to mention, if it'd be helpful to have me or Jesse or Carla come out to your home and talk about what you have in mind and who we are and see if we're a good fit for each other, reach out to us, give us a call, jump on the website. We've got a button there that you can schedule a consultation online. And then of course, given the pandemic, we're also equipped to do those virtually, whether it's Zoom or FaceTime or Skype, whatever you need be. And we're always doing fun things. We're always trying to get out information for everybody so that you can be well prepared. So stay connected to us on your favorite social media platform, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channel I mentioned. We've got a great house page, Twitter, all that. You can find us. So I went on a little bit over on my time. I hope this was helpful and informative for all of you. I promised we'd take a little bit of time for some questions and answers. I see that a couple popped up. I don't know if they got answered or not, but let's see. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, it looks like, and a couple of these are related, so we'll see if we can combine these a little bit. So it sounds like they know they need something like a guest house, but they also have kind of a laundry list of things that they need done for their main house, and they want to know, where should we begin, the main house or the guest house? Yeah,
everybody's different. My suggestion in that case is when we're in a conceptual design phase is to look at it all, right? To master plan it all. Let's look at all the things that you need to do in the house. Let's look at what the guest house wants to be, master plan all of that out for you, because we may find as we go through that process, at least my experience is, especially when we start putting cost estimates together, that as we spend more time together, start doing some master planning and some cost estimating, that our decisions start to become more clear over what to start with. I don't know that there's a hard and fast, you need to do the house first and then the guest house, as much as if we can master plan that out, give you all the information that you need to decide what's better for you to start on. That's the process we can use to get you in a place that you can be sure about the decision you make to move forward.
I agree. I think there's so much to be said for being given the information. I think all of us find ourselves in that position, right? We're looking around our house. We know there's things that are pressing, whether it's the kitchen or needing that new office or doing something, and then trying to balance that all out. I think one of the most rewarding things that happens during conceptual design is when clients actually get to see that there's a path.
Yeah,
They get
right.
to
There's
see,
hope. I can
right.
do this.
Okay, great. Now there's some objectivity. They're looking at a plan. They get to see everything that they have on their wish list, essentially. And then they get to decide that based on the information that we're providing. And it's so nice to see people just instantly relax when they can, when they have the information in front of them. So yeah, that's a great answer. That's exactly what we do. Helping people think through that and giving them the information they need to let them decide how they want to prioritize their project.
Right.
The other question that's closely related to that is cost. How, that's one thing that we kind of, that's a challenge for us all the time as we go out and talk with people. It's the first thing top of mind for a lot of people. The concern is, I have a great idea, but what is the cost? How do I even know? Where do I get the most bang for our buck? And it's very closely related to what we just talked about.
Yeah, that's right. I think, the process works the same, and I find that through exploring designs and plans of what you want to do, and of course, getting that cost input early on, that decisions become pretty clear pretty quick, One, because we're spending time focusing on it. Two, we're understanding physically what can happen. And three, we're putting some prices to that so that, like I say, what we want to do and what we want to spend are often two different things. We need to find out how close we are very, very soon. And that's when we talk about the conceptual design, as soon as we're able to provide some reliable estimating, we do that. We don't wait until we get way down the line. No, we need to look at that. It's just as important as the designs themselves.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think one of the things I hear a lot, and maybe initially the question has more to do with, do you have a general rule in terms of cost that as people are exploring, because they're hearing so many different things from so many different places, well, my friend did this project and it was X, how does that relate back to me? I heard a contractor give me one amount. Is that the full amount? And so I think oftentimes as we're, exploring these specific ideas with people for their home, one of the things that is really, again, exciting about this process is that, yes, in general, there's construction costs, and then there's this idea of soft costs. What are those? And I know that you have that conversation quite often with people about how do we manage those two things? What is the construction cost versus soft cost? What is the difference between those two? And then what is a total cost? How do I budget for that?
Yeah, and that's one of the nice things about a design build firm like ours is we're able to very early on, once we get an understanding of the nature of the project, is help you understand what are those soft costs, not just the construction costs, but how much are my soft costs, the costs for permitting, for plan check, if we need engineering, if we need any other services. Help me understand all of those before I get too far down, or even worse, before I get into construction and then find out, oh my gosh, permit costs, engineers, all of that kind of thing. But it's really hard, I have to say, to just take, like you mentioned, hey, my friend spent this much. How does that, it's hard to look at, especially when we're talking about remodeling. If my neighbor spent this, am I going to spend the same amount? It's hard to say because every person is different. Every home is different. On a new home, just take, for example, tile. You can spend $4 a square foot, $3 a square foot on tile, where I see some people spend $60, $70 a square foot on tile. So we need to study where you find yourself. Where do you see yourself in that spectrum across the hundreds, maybe thousands of decisions that we have to make on a project like this? And that's where we can help.
Yeah, absolutely. The quality of I really believe, and I tell this to folks when we go out and meet with them, right? It's the quality of the people that you choose to work with, and it is really going to depend on the quality. That's going to give you the quality of information that you're looking for. Because the more
Yeah.
accurate that information, you desperately need that early as possible in this process. If you can count on them to be able to provide you with that, you're going to be in a much better position for a successful project. Well, I think we technically combined all of those questions, so they were
Okay.
both more about that. The other one had a little bit to do with, you know, conversions versus ground ups, which is I know right now we're getting questions about, hey, is it easier like to convert our attached garage or a standalone structure? And it's along the lines of what we just talked about as well.
Yeah, you know, again, every situation is different. You know, the advantage that you have in a garage conversion is that that structure is already there. So we don't need to worry about lot coverages or anything like that. You know, if we add a structure to your home, we need to make sure we're complying with our lot coverages, which are usually fine. Making sure, like I said in the early ones, that we're placing it in the right way so that we don't destroy your vision for your estate. We want to make sure that we're actually maximizing and creating new opportunities for spaces when we do that. So you have to kind of weigh each one individually, but if it's, you know, sort of, you know, a garage conversion, we have an existing structure there. Hopefully it's already permitted, so we can really kind of leverage that structure. But a ground up may be the right thing for you, and that's what we can figure out for you really, really quickly.
That's right. Well, that's it for us in terms of questions and answers.
All right. Well, thank you all. I hope it was helpful and you learned a little bit, or at least saw some beautiful pictures, and hopefully we'll see you again in one of these webinars, or maybe even at your home. So goodbye, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you for being with us.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.